So you think you want to overhaul your SPD springs, do you? My advice would be not to bother. I have a long history of taking things apart and a more spotty history of actually putting things back together. For anyone considering doing this, perhaps this video will be enough to satisfy your curiosity. And for those who have taken theirs apart already and need some help, maybe this can help get you back on the road. The springs and adjuster are held in by these two pins. As they come out, the rest just falls apart. Make note of the shape of the nut plate on the adjuster screw. 3 sides are flat and the 4th side has kind of a bump on it. I'm showing here how to identify and then how it should be oriented when you reinstall. Unless you need to replace the fixed plate, the only real reason to remove it is to aid in reinstalling the springs. Perhaps you could get the springs back in with the plate in place, but because they interfere, you get a lot more range of motion when installing the springs by having it out of the way. So why did I take this task on? Never really liked the glob of grease on the adjuster screw and springs and how it just attracts dirt. Given how clean a wax chain stays, even off-road, I figured this would be a great way to keep these springs lubed up. In the end, I think it's going to work quite well, but the cost to get there isn't really worth it. Next time, I'll just spray clean the old grease off and then set with a good wax drip lube like Silka Super Secret. I gotta say, I wasn't loving these T10 screws. The wrench just didn't drop in as deeply as I'd like. Fortunately, the screws held up to my abuse. Through the magic of editing, I've cleaned everything up. Be careful with any cleaners so you don't foul up the seal at the spindle or get any liquid into the bearing area. The pedal body is aluminum, so you don't want to over-torque any of these bolts, but you need them to stay put, so I'm putting blue thread lock on all the threads to help hold it all together when I'm done. Make sure you don't have any thread lock on the pin portion, just the threads. And here's my springs, hanging on a swisher tool fresh out of their hot wax bath. You'll notice that the two ends of the springs are different. You want the straight end at the pedal body and the curved off end in the middle of the pin where the adjusting screw will contact. Front and back each have 2 springs, and you want the 2 curved off ends next to each other with the straight ends on the outside. You just want to pay attention to how they contact the adjuster screw plate thing. This is where comparing to an intact pedal can be very helpful. Pay attention to exactly how they contact the body and the plate. Once you have the springs correctly on the pin, you need to press the adjuster screw into place against the spring tension. In my tool chest, I have a Tack puller I got from my Grandad, and the split end on it is perfect for pressing in on the screw without twisting it. You can use a flathead screwdriver, but it's more challenging as it wants to spin as you push on it. So, thanks, Grandad. You can't really push it all the way into place, but you can get it far enough in there to get a ball end hex key in there and pull it the rest of the way. The ball end just allows it to slip in a bit easier. For whatever reason, I was spatially challenged getting this spring plate on the right way. It helped me to orient the pedal the way it would be on the bike, and then install the plate as it would be if I looked down at the pedal. Any other orientation was just too much for my brain to process and get right. I'm mixing up the camera angles between the two sides to try to give as much detail to how this works. It definitely gets easier as you do it more. If you were struggling here and didn't remove the fixed plate, then try taking it off and see if you have better luck. To insert the adjusting screw, you need to get the springs positioned properly first. Spin them around so the straight outside edge contacts the pedal body and the curved middle ends are next to each other with a gap for the screw. At this point, if you have access to a vise, it will make installing the plates a lot easier. I'm clamping the pedal body, not the axle, into the vise just enough to keep it from slipping or rotating. Then I reach through the pedal body along the spindle with a flathead screwdriver and lever the sprung plate out of the way so I can get the fixed plate in place. Using my right hand to hold the spring back while also holding the plate in place, and my left hand to get the screws in. Sick Biker has a nice video on this without a vise, but it's much more effort to hold the spring back while screwing in the plate with only two hands. With everything back in place and working, it's time to final torque all the screws. Remember, the pedal body is aluminum, so firmly tight, but not so tight you strip out the aluminum threads. Again, I am not loving these T10 screws. The final step is to reset the release tension however you like it. I usually go a little past halfway. I think it was 10 clicks. Too loose and you slip out too easily. Too tight and you give up some of the float. So find the sweet spot that works for you. And there you go.